Hey, what's going on, everybody? Caleb here again. Continuing the Backrooms Icebergs like I said I would. Today I got the Entity Iceberg. I did this one class 1/0 entities all the way down to class 7, and then the ones below class 7 are I actually had to add those because I was running out of space, but those are extra powerful beings. They're basically gods in the Backrooms universe. So yeah, that's what's going on down there. Real quick before I start this iceberg, I wanted to thank all of those who have given feedback on the last 2 icebergs I've made. I really appreciate that. That helps me get better. Let me know what you think down below about the music. I've had some people say the music is kind of distracting, but I figure it's better to have some kind of background music than just my monotone ass voice for 2 hours and then you fall asleep by the end of the video. So let me know down below what you think, whether I should keep or drop the music. That's entirely up to you guys. It doesn't matter to me either way. Thank you again to all those who give feedback. Thank you to all those who view and to those who subscribe. And with that being said, let's get started in this iceberg. Okay, one more thing real quick, sorry. If you didn't watch the previous Backrooms Iceberg video I made, I highly recommend watching that, because I touched on a few entities in that video, and I'm not going to retouch on them here, mainly because I was kind of running out of space, as you can see. But also because it's just kind of repetitive for me to repeat the same thing. So yeah, if you haven't watched the first Backrooms Iceberg I made, go give that one a watch before you take a look at this one. Class 0/1. As I'm sure you've guessed by now, these are the least dangerous entities down here. Some of these are still kind of scary and do pose some form of a threat, but for the most part, these guys are pretty lax, pretty chill. And as long as you don't mess with them, they're going to leave you alone. The Cameraman. Simply put, the Cameraman is the entity responsible for the majority of the photos you see of the Backrooms. It's been debated whether or not he's a kind of reality warping entity who can go to different levels of the Backrooms as he pleases, or if he's just a wanderer. And it's also noted that his photos are pretty high quality and they don't look like they're just taken with a smartphone or some junk ass camera. They actually look like high quality, professionally done photos. So take from it what you will, whether or not the Cameraman is a regular human like you and me, or some form of an entity. Capybaras. I like capybaras. Capybaras are entities found in various levels, and they are very social animals. They are found in groups from 3 individuals up to 15. Upon encountering a wanderer, they will protect them from the next threat that they face, unlike their counterparts on level 9666. Capybaras have been recorded to fight smilers, skin stealers, female death moths, hounds, and others. Just like their front room's counterpart, they are semi-aquatic and enjoy swimming. They mostly drink almond water and neon water, but will still drink standard water when possible. It is unknown if they fully exist in level 6, but wanderers claim hearing capybara barks in other levels. In a nutshell, these are big therapy animals that you want to come across when you're in the Backrooms having a mental breakdown because you don't know how you're going to get out of the Backrooms. Cats with a K. It is recommended that any instance of Entity 17, cats, be left alone or with dignity, as behind these cute innocent fluff balls might be something concealed within. Out of our range of comprehension, it may be capable of causing major injuries in whatever form that may be. However, it shall spare those who appreciate it. Cats are similar to their counterpart in the front room, also named cats. They can be found on various levels, and they have claws, teeth, hair, ears, whiskers, all that good stuff. Entity 17 can be domesticated and exceedingly endorsed, as cats have shown to improve mental health. Entity 17 is rarely seen because they rely on stealth so much, and they fear creatures that are bigger than them, usually making them sprint away. Though, as a result of their height, they are deeply sluggish. Any form of typical harm is negated by these entities. It is undetermined how these entities can perform this, as further research is required. Entity 17 also has 2 types of variants, and thus far both of them have been demonstrated to be based on nature. These variants can be distinguishable from ordinary versions of cats, however, they are important enough to be settled in a zone of this page. The first variation is nature. This variation looks identical to felines from reality, however, there are essential differences that alter the look enough to be separated from ordinary cats. Nature has a green mist around it at all times. It possesses white-green colored eyes and does not retain pupils. Nature has the ability to generate gas in the surrounding areas, as well as enter the gray plane The powers he possesses greatly hinge on the environment. Nonetheless, he prefers to be harmonious unless whomever stumbles upon nature decides to engage it in combat. The second variation of the entity, Cats, is called Stormy. Stormy's fur is black instead of white. He has purple hue colored eyes. Like nature, Stormy doesn't have pupils. Stormy has some curious ability, including weather manipulation, natural disaster modification, and other weathered style powers. A noteworthy mention is that Stormy increases his potential once injured, as Stormy has been identified with electric bolts of some sort or some sort of particles around him. It is recommended you do not annoy Stormy, as he presents less remorse towards wanderers. However, Stormy is still passive towards them. It is recommended at all times you keep your distance from this variant once it's in combat, as it can greatly injure someone. It is rather reckless with its attacks and is more chaotic instead of precise. Kind of like a real storm. The Hamster. Many used to believe that the hamster was just a scaled up version of the regular hamsters from the front rooms. However, it was recently discovered that it is able to float and has teleportation abilities, being able to teleport not only itself, but other objects and entities. This fact has been witnessed alongside the fact that dangerous entities are likely to be attacked by the hamster, who often scratches, bites, and in last case teleports entities away. The hamster is in general a passive and calm being. They can often be seen getting something to eat at Starbucks or looking for a great spot to nap at IKEA. Also, it's located in level triangle, which I'm not familiar with. I'm assuming it's like a town, so yeah. Although this entity will be on alert as soon as it hears any strange sounds, it might go check if it is a foreign entity invading the level. If it is a really harmful entity, the hamster will acquire an aggressive behavior and will fight the invader, occasionally sending it to another level. This can be considered a warding behavior, in which he protects his home intentionally or not. Humans, interestingly, despite having the ability to teleport and float, he seems to prefer not to. And this may explain how it took so long for humans to discover these powers. So basically, you come across this big ass hamster, leave him be, and yeah, he won't teleport you to somewhere worse. PORGEUS. PORGEUS is a Cyclops entity found in level 908. Its one eyeball takes up its entire body apart from its legs. PORGEUS has stubby but strong legs to keep it standing. The PORGEUS wanders around and does not pose harm to wanderers. They have very low intellect and are commonly preyed on by smilers because of this. The PORGEUS will run away from any loud noises and sharp movements. Instead of bones, PORGEUSes have thick, squishy fat to protect it. The only bones found are found in its legs. Because of its stubby legs, if a PORGEUS were to bend over, it would fall over and be unable to get up until it dies or is helped. PORGEUS have dull yellow skin, while females have dull green skin. The skin is an extra protective layer and is about 5 centimeters thick. PORGEUS has a small slit underneath its body that it uses to consume food like moss. A PORGEUS's brain-body ratio is similar to that of an ostrich. The lifespan of a PORGEUS is about 7 months. PORGEUS breed by male and female bashing heads. Observers theorize that the action sends a pulse to the female's body to create an egg. Huh. A weird, harmless entity. This is probably the least harmful entity you can encounter in the backrooms. The mail carrier. The mail carrier is an entity that delivers mail to the people in the front rooms. Unlike the mail carriers in the front rooms, the only type of mail the mail carrier handles are diaries and journals of those who have unfortunately succumbed to the horrors of the backrooms. That's pretty freaking cool, actually. The mail carrier isn't hostile towards wanderers. It can still indirectly have negative effects on those who are unlucky enough to experience them, some of them being feelings of paranoia when stalked by the mail carrier, disappearing within a week after reading the mail, lost diaries mailed by the mail carrier in the front rooms, odd behaviors when reading and subsequently reading mail given by the entity. It is a pretty neat entity, and if you don't know how to read, you're probably in a pretty good spot. Okay, that was a really bad joke. I apologize. The Conductor. You may remember in the last video we touched on the Dark Metro, which was a secret level. If you weren't aware, or if you didn't figure it out in the last video, there's also a counterpart to that, which is just the regular Metro, and the Conductor drives the train in the regular Metro. There's really not too much to say about this guy. He usually takes the appearance of a young kid. He always takes the appearance of what seems to be a young kid. I don't believe he's hostile. He's a pretty neutral entity. He's just kind of whatever. I'm sure if you went up and insulted him to his face, he'd probably knock you on your ass and kick you off the train. But other than that, he's pretty lax. Translators. Translators are a friendly aquatic entity who take a rough humanoid shape. Their body from the waist down is non-existent. They have 2 short arms with no hands and a head that lacks any facial features. Instead of them having a solid body, they instead have a body made out of a very dark blue liquid, which is presumed to be water or something similar to it. They live in shallow areas of large bodies of water and very frequently poke their heads out of water. They are not doing this for oxygen because they are practically invincible, but because they are looking for a wanderer or entity, or really anyone to help. These entities find joy and happiness by helping people effortlessly translate different languages. These include all languages spoken on the front rooms, and all languages spoken from other entities, from Mandarin to Navajo. They know it all. Interesting. Even programming languages. They mainly speak German, however. Sadly, these guys are quite rare to find, and you'll probably never have one as a teacher. Shame. Womb! Sorry. Wombs are incredibly cute creatures that take the form of a stuffed animal. They're universally regarded as incredibly cute, in fact. These round, colorful entities will resemble rainbow-colored, some word I can't pronounce, plushies, which are capable of swimming in the air similarly to a fish, though they will only use this manner of movement when covering short distances, as traveling this way is very slow due to the limits of their soft bodies. Despite their limited mobility, they are able to move their limbs based on their lack of reaction to sound. It is believed that wombs lack the ability to hear, and none have been reported to have had the need to eat, drink, or sleep. The womb's primary form of travel is a form of propulsive shockwave, where it compresses its body up like a spring and then launches itself forward a little bit. This is not the most effective mode of transportation, and they seem to refrain from producing shockwaves when they are near humans. It is theorized that the wombs use this passive behavior to attract humans into carrying them as a method of transportation. So yeah, if you see one of these guys, I mean, I don't know where you're supposed to carry him to. I guess you could just like hang on to him for a while. And yeah, just have a little stuffed animal to squeeze at night when you're crawling into a corner crying because you're on level pain and you know you're fucked. Okay, sorry, let's move on. FRETMEN. FRETMEN were called this by the first wanderer to see one. They are mostly harmless entities existing within the boundaries of level Azure. Their full physical appearance is currently unidentified due to their anxious nature, hence the name. Typically, you'll just see a pair of bioluminescent eyes that are incredibly mobile, floating around in distant darkness. A single pair of FRETMEN's eyes is able to go up to the point where it is not visible anymore or way down to the feet of the wanderer. It is unknown if this is the FRETMEN being able to float, or change the locations of its eye, or even detach them and let them roam freely around the back rooms because nobody's ever seen its actual body. The FRETMEN do not wish to harm any nearby wanderers that are trapped within the walls of level Azure. Any physical contact with them is rare. Visual contact, on the other hand, is rather common. If a wanderer sees one and runs, the FRETMEN will become startled and believe there is another threat that they must immediately seek refuge from. This anxious and scared personality triggers the FRETMEN's flight or fight instinct as soon as they are alerted that there is danger. While they tend to wander in groups for a better sense of safety when menaced, they immediately and aimlessly scatter in different directions. So these are like the little coward-ass aliens that you see in every sci-fi movie ever, who if you blink at them too violently, they take off. Differwakes. A Differwake is a rejected Heartless from the Kingdom Hearts series that went to the less successful Backrooms series to make a name for us. No, I'm just kidding. A Differwake is what happens whenever a wanderer dies. If a wanderer dies, there is a chance that a Differwake will form. Differwakes are usually shadowy humanoid entities carrying the memory, intelligence, and often personality of the person they represent. A Differwake will not form when a wanderer dies after coming back to the front rooms and/or the death was caused by a serious brain injury. There are various different kinds of Differwakes. The adult and child Differwakes are the most common types. They usually form when people die of a quote-unquote normal death in the back rooms. Then there are the feral Differwakes, which appear when wanderers are turned into horrors like insanities, or when they're eaten by like hounds and stuff like that. There's wall walker Differwakes, They represent wanderers who were killed by another wanderer. And then there are the types that don't represent a specific group of wanderers. And there's irregular, which are shape-shifting creatures. Orb Differwakes, which I don't really know what the deal is. And then there's Morphing. There's quite a few. Okay. But my Differwake, when I die, I need you to find this video. Because you're representing me, you need to be loud, obnoxious, make every attempt you can to be funny, and be incapable of growing a beard. Alright, moving on. Entity 777, the Brothers Grimm. This is a cool one. This is Entity 777.1, which is the level 1 entity. Basically, these two brothers are good and evil, so to speak. This is the good one. He has made multiple levels on negative levels, so I haven't gone over any of those yet. He has the ability to heal wounds. He has the ability to reverse cognito hazards and stuff like that. And he's all around just the embodiment of good. I would recommend that you look more into this entity for yourself, because there's quite a few tales that go on with these two entities, and it's going to take me quite a while to sum it all up here. Just know that his brother is further down in the iceberg. The Guardian. The Guardian is an entity that will only manifest those who are children, pregnant, or those who look for the good in everyone, and easily forgive and care for people more so than themselves. The Guardian is not hostile towards wanderers or facelings and will remain calm unless provoked. It's basically a good guardian angel typed entity. Its primary goal is to guide those out of the back rooms back to their original location or out of level 2. It seems the Guardian does not want anyone to suffer the same fate as it has, and that's why they haven't left the back rooms. This entity is said to look like a physically fit man, wearing what appears to be a helmet, and supposedly it has some kind of a sword, though this is unconfirmed. So if you run into this guy, hug him and cry. Alright, that is Tier 1 or Class 0/1 of the Entity Iceberg. I guess now's as good a time as any to say that I did not include every single entity in the backrooms on here. Main reason was from lack of space. Second reason was because some of them were just kind of lame and boring, and just I didn't really have an interest in them, so I left them out because it's my iceberg, you know? I do what I want. Anyways, let's continue. Class 2 entities. It's not scary yet, don't worry. Entity number 1, Standards. Okay, so if you're familiar with the SCP Foundation, you're familiar with SCP-001. Entity number 1 of the backrooms is in the same boat as to where there's multiple iterations of Entity 1, and I gotta say, quick rant, I absolutely hate SCP-001. The reason why is because a lot of those interpretations or theories, whatever the hell you want to call them, are really, really cool and really, really scary, but yet they're tied to this stupid fucking number. It would be better, in my opinion, to just leave Entity 1, SCP-001, blank or totally classified and give all these kick-ass entries their own separate numbers. And so Entity number 1 in the backrooms suffers the same fate as as SCP-001 of the SCP Wiki. Just be aware of that. The Standards, in my opinion, is the best one, and that's the one I've chosen. Alright. Standards are hostile humanoid entities that can be spotted through several levels of the back rooms. Standards are usually caught wearing long dark trench coats along with black rain boots. These entities are speculated not to roam, but instead to appear exclusively in dark rooms and corridors. Upon mentally exhausted wanderers, it is believed that standers are more prone to target lonely and frightened explorers rather than confident ones. Although eerie, most experienced wanderers do not consider standers a death sentence. Upon encountering one, however, many newcomers will fall victim to the entity's counterintuitive mechanisms as an attempt to prevent casualties. Several levels, such as level 1, contain written and/or drawn instructions indicating ways to safely maneuver around this entity. After being sighted, standers will not move until their prey has turned away from them. At this point, they will wait until they are looking at them once again before charging towards the victim, stabbing their thorax utilizing its bare, pointy arms. The theory that standards disappear once their prey is wounded is the most widely accepted. Standards will fade away in chase of their prey, or in case their prey manages to flee them. However, its deafness effect will continue to haunt the victim until this is accomplished, making it so that the only way to tell whether or not a standard is still giving chase is by regaining hearing while running away. One may spot this entity's glowing red eyes through their hood, as standards are only provoked once looking at them the second time. Notice: under no circumstance should a wanderer, upon encountering a standard, touch or inspect one up close. If you end up coming across a standard, for your life's sake, turn around and do not look back. If returning is not feasible, continue on your journey while ignoring the entity until your hearing is restored. So basically, this is the opposite of SCP-173. If you're familiar with that, you have to stare at the 173 or it will come at you. Standards, you have to look away and never look back. Frowners. Frowners are a subspecies, basically, of smilers. Had I known that, I wouldn't have put them on here because I'm trying to stay away from subspecies. That being said, these will probably be the only subspecies on here unless I make another mistake. Frowners are friendly entities and can be recognized by their striking frowning faces, made as a counterpart to the menacing grins of the smilers. Just like smilers, frowners can only appear in safely dark regions such as black rooms, dark hallways, and on occasions regions with colors disabled. Frowners, unlike smilers, are indifferent to light. They are not interested in hunting and are entirely self-sustaining. This is different from smilers, who require sustenance. So they go out and hunt wanderers and occasionally other entities. That said, flashing them with the flashlight is still not recommended. Frowners, just like smilers, have inherited the photosensitivity that plagued the ancient crimson smiler species, which died out and evolved into the entities we know of today as smilers, grinners, and rattlers, and frowners. I could not find the ancient crimson smiler entity, sadly. Unless provoked, frowners are passive entities. As long as you avoid provoking or messing with them as a threat, then they'll leave you the hell alone. Frowners are known to approach and greet you, offering to take you to level Frown, their main level of residence, where some kind of hostility is present. So basically, these guys are just the opposite of the smilers in a sense, as long as you don't fuck with them. Wall worms are, as the name suggests, worms that come out of the walls in the back rooms. Wall worms have several, what do they call them here? Variants, not subspecies, variants. To them, about 5 or 6. They have a worm core, which is a robotic interior. They are capable of shocking people. They're also capable of spitting acids out. Common wall worms seem to generally inhabit levels made of soft materials such as rotting plasterboard or dirt. As far as the variants go, there are foam worms, which have a green slug-like appearance. These worms are pretty big. They usually measure in at 6'6", so 6 foot 6 inches, and will move at much slower speeds than others of their kind. They are named foam worms or fume worms because of the black pillars of smoke which they are constantly emitting from the sides of their bodies, which seems to be generated as a toxic byproduct of their inner core. Screw worms are among the rarest of the wall worms, living only in levels composed entirely of metal or machinery. These damn guys measure in about 8 foot 8 inches and normally move at a sluggish pace of 1 mph, although a rare few have been recorded moving as fast as 10 miles per hour when in pursuit of a wanderer. The screwworm slime is acidic, as the common wall worm is able to burrow through harder materials, hence the name. Then there is the pulse worm. Pulse worms largely resemble ordinary wall worms but have slightly more purple hue in their skin and grow of lengths up to 14 feet, 14 inches. They are often found snaking through multiple rooms and burrowing through the levels they inhabit, tunneling at speeds of up to 4 miles per hour. So these wall worms kind of remind me of the basilisk in Harry Potter Chamber of Secrets, the movie. So imagine a giant snake, but they're giant worms. Gordian worms are considered the most overly hostile of all the wall worm variants, but also among the rarest. Only one Gordian worm has been reported for every 1,000 reports of the common wall worms. These are also the most slender of their kind, measuring in at about 9 feet 8 inches, allowing them to burrow into the flesh of wanderers and slither into the body without killing the host. They have an 8-inch diameter. Sorry, 0.8-inch diameter. So a long, skinny motherfucker. Once inside of a human host, the core of the Gordian worm initiates a chemical reaction that causes the acidic slime of the Gordian worm to congeal and fuse the worm to the person's flesh. Lovely. So, kind of a tapeworm, but a more vicious and longer one. And finally, the colossal worms are considered to be the rarest of their kind, with only 3 recorded sightings currently documented. Colossal worms can only be found in levels with large outdoor areas. These gargantuan worms have been reported to measure about 6 meters in diameter and 30 meters in length, although these measurements remain unconfirmed. So the biggest worm around, same threat. Retainers and light lurkers. Now their retainers are a class 2 entity, while light lurkers are a class 5, but I was running out of space on class 5, so I stuck light lurkers here along with these guys, and they are kind of symbiotic in a way. So their retainers are entities that at the beginning were human, but after a drastic change in them related to the light lurkers, they became their retainers. Being neutral, they will not be friendly, but neither will they be hostile. They usually just want to be quiet. The retainers worship the light lurkers, and the retainers are theorized to be from a much earlier, possibly the first wanderers. The entity is neutral. Most of the time it won't harm anyone if they don't attack it or bother it, but they are not friendly either. They could probably leave you behind even if you're in mortal danger. These entities are constantly traveling in the levels they are located in. For some reason, these guys worship the light lurkers and seem to think they're gods or spirits, especially the Titan Towers. These entities do rituals and texts dedicated to the light lurkers. If you see these retainers and these activities, never interrupt them. These entities travel in groups of 3 to 5 people, and they all walk in a line unless something happens. These entities walk most of the day, but when they don't, they set up camp, which is where they usually do their rituals. These entities will attack if they've been harmed, an entity made them upset, or an entity is against their thoughts. These entities can make appear tentacles on their back, similar to those of the light lurkers. The tentacles have eyes, which the entities can probably see out of, and are completely covered in an unknown black sticky liquid. They can make these tentacles extend up to 10 meters. Now if they catch you with these tentacles, they will try to kill you or take you to level 2250, where by dark influence you will become one of them. Now the light lurkers are mysterious entities that are theorized to have always been in the backrooms. However, a drastic change that is being investigated caused most of the light lurkers to die out. It is said that if they did not help from their retainers, they would probably be on the verge of extinction. They're called light lurkers because they like to hide in luminous places for some reason. Although in ancient texts they are called Lords of Darkness or Black Light. They were even called the Hades at one point. The light lurker entities like to be in bright places, especially if it is a light in a dark place. They wrap themselves around the object and come as close to the light as they can, hence the picture. The light lurkers are hostile entities towards any entity that is not one of them. Every time a light lurker sees an entity, it seems to growl, perhaps signifying that it is being bothered or saying, "Step the fuck back, son." Light lurkers, however, are passive towards smilers. The connection between these two entities is unknown. The body of the light lurkers is made full of tentacles that can extend up to 10 meters as far as known. Light lurkers appear to have eyes in their tentacles of different sizes. The known past, they are believed to have existed from earlier times because some records have been found. They were once feared entities by other entities in the backroom, and at some point some wanderers came close to begin to worshipping them as gods. Some came to believe they were in the underworld because of this. Some worshippers began to be able to heal, even revive light lurkers, making them even stronger. The light lurkers also had a type of leader known as Titan Towers. Their retainers thought that The Titan Towers were the strongest group of gods in the Backrooms. The Titan Towers were described as big and strong gods with enough power to kill someone on sight, although these statements turned out to be exaggerated by the retainers. And sadly, I could not find anything on the Titan Towers. Dave. Not this Dave. This Dave. That little black smudge in that photo there. Dave, otherwise known as the Weeping Insanity, is a human turned insanity who fell into the Backrooms as a teen, approximately 17 years of age. Upon further investigation, we learned that he lived a fairly normal life in the front rooms before unfortunately clipping into level 0 through an opening in a Denny's parking lot. His legal guardians have asked that we keep his personal life details to a minimum and that he remain anonymous. Dave is unlike many other insanities, as he appears to somehow have retained his ability of speech. He can communicate with humans. It is highly recommended to not attempt any sort of interaction with him. His ability to regulate emotions and keep his blunders under control is inconsistent. The lives of 37 investigators have been lost due to his unpredictable aggressions. Dave enters a hostile state during random intervals of time or when threatened. It is important to not engage in combat with this entity because he has no known weakness. If he happens to spot you when hostile, there are only two known ways to evade him. First is simply to run. Dave is unlikely to follow you unless he has a personal grudge. Remember, this method will only work if the hostile state was induced by a perceived threat. If the hostile state is due to his random bouts, then running will result in him chasing you and tearing you to pieces limb from limb. Your only chance of surviving this is fighting back until he loses interest. The second is offering him foods like moth jelly, which is his personal favorite. From data we've gathered, it appears that the Weeping Insanity holds part of his consciousness and does not want to harm humans unless necessary, meaning that this entity survives off of eating other entities and foods that do not contain almond water. I don't know who I'd rather get into a fight with, this Dave or Dave Bautista. Crimson Wanderer. Crimson Wanderer is a mysterious warrior of outstanding strength and skill, feared for his deadly power, but is also seen by many as a hero. He is widely considered as one of the most dangerous humanoid entities in the Backrooms that has racked up one of the highest kill counts ever recorded. There's conflicting accounts regarding the appearance of the Crimson Wanderer, suggesting that different individuals perceive him differently. Initially, this is thought to be caused by an illusion, but further evidence provided shows that he actually has multiple forms. He is not considered a shape-shifter, as his transformation is apparently part of his power. The Crimson Wanderer is a highly infamous entity despite the fact that there is only one Crimson Wanderer. This is moderately due to his extreme violent tendencies to hunt and slaughter monsters across the Backrooms. Due to this, many classify him under the same category as counter-entities, but he is certainly not one of them, as they are hostile against each other. However, he does not blindly attack, and not every entity will show hostility against him. Crimson Wanderer would often kill other Wanderers too, but only if he deemed them to cross the line. Many found it surprising that he is able to communicate, even expressing semblance of humanity with an actual personality, as he possessed a clear judgment and ideals. Many attempt to communicate with the Crimson Wanderer, but he would rarely talk. And even if he does, his demeanor is cold, stoic, or cynical. However, he shows a great deal of empathy, and he is protective towards the weak and the innocent. Because of this, many have nicknamed him the anti-hero of the Backrooms. The Crimson Wanderer has a couple different forms. In his default form, his strength, he is able to punch through walls and many other objects rather easily. His durability, his armor seems to be as strong as modern main battle tanks. His mobility, he tends to walk slowly but can actually move faster than a cheetah. As for his abilities, he seems to be able to regenerate his body and tools if they ever get damaged. However, the Crimson Wanderer does not seem to be immortal. He shows a sign of survival instinct, suggesting that he could still die. Or perhaps he once was mortal. Apparently, he regenerates by using the same life force manipulation which he uses to sustain his body. In his combat form, he can smash through vehicles and buildings with little to no effort. His durability, he is able to survive explosions and barely take any damage. He is much faster than in his default form, with highest observable speed around supersonic level. And he generates a fiery aura during this form with increasing heat and brightness depending on its energy level. His aura is apparently a projection of his power, that he can blast fire or beams to destroy his targets. His overall power varies between average explosions to something that could destroy a whole town. His aura may grow and reshape to various forms, and most commonly a spiritual avatar of himself wielding various types of weapons. Multiple eyewitnesses insist that he is using Susanoo from the Naruto anime, due to their similar visual nature. And finally, his true form. His strength is incomprehensible due to his chaotic, nightmarish existence. His durability is uncertain what could damage him. His mobility is very slow, often seeing him appearing and disappearing from a place to another, suggesting he can move through teleportation. I don't know why that's classified as very slow, but let's move on. As far as his ability goes, he can consider the entity of nightmare in this phase. He does not seem to be omnipresent, nor omniscience, let alone omnipotent. Currently, the understanding to his capabilities in this form is close to nothing, but his existence seems to corrupt or disturb anything around him. Living beings express discomfort, intense fear, dread, and despair. Many entities in the background would avoid him or even become terrified when he enters this form. He rarely ever uses this form, and it seems that there are many limitation requirements or consequences of unleashing this form. The most commonly accepted theory is that using this form for too long would slowly erode his humanity, turning him into a mindless, heartless monster. I have no idea why in the hell he is at Class 2. Alright, that is Class 2, and so far the Crimson Wanderer is my favorite. Let's move on. Class 3. This is where guys are gonna kind of start to get dangerous. Kind of, but not really. It really starts to get like dangerous, like, oh my god, I'm fucked. Dangerous at Class 4. Bottle Demons. Bottle Demons are hostile creatures. They only appear behind bottles of almond water. The Bottle Demons are a shadow type creature possessing the shadows of almond water bottles. The Bottle Demons always smile, have small eye sockets, and have big foreheads. The demons only have a head, as the Bottle Demons only appear in the shadows of the cap. If the water is drunk, the Bottle Demons will enter your throat and start to cut it. Ow. Here's what you need to know. Do not drink the water if there is a Bottle Demon behind it. You will die a slow and painful death, as the Bottle Demons scratch and cut the inside of your mouth while you drink. There is no stopping after putting your lips on the bottle. You have to make a shadow behind to know if the water bottle is possessed. The Bottle Demon will only appear behind the cap. They never appear behind any type of drink, backrooms and not. The only drink they'll ever appear from is almond water. To get rid of them, cleanse the bottle in holy water. After that, you will hear a faint screech and the Bottle Demon will disappear. You can reuse the holy water. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to bring some holy water with you down here, actually. Paper Snakes. Paper snakes are an aggressive but weak entity that takes the form and varying sizes and colors of folded paper. They may come out in chain paper snakes, folded or cut paper snakes. Their most common color is green. They also have googly cute eyes that work like a normal human eye, pointing in the direction it faces instead of wobbling from side to side. Paper snakes usually sneak up on their prey, but you will know if there is one nearby when you hear paper being crumpled or folded. They can easily take down small prey, but can only deal paper cuts or mild scars to bigger prey. They act like a normal snake, but it is unknown how they are able to consume prey being made out of paper. The paper snake can eat scraps of fur, scales, or skin, or feathers from animals and other entities. They can eat bones, but not the sharp parts. They mostly prey on rats and birds. So, you could probably use these as like, make a small army of paper snakes, and like throw them on some kind of entity, and then like it'll paper cut the shit out of the entity, and you can run. That's what I'd use them for, at least. Wall spiders. Wall spiders are tall, lanky motherfuckers. Normally 6 to 8 feet in height. They have pitch black skin and hundreds of pin-sized eyes. They walk around on their 2 longest legs and can only walk alongside walls, hence the name. They tend to live on levels that are in buildings, or at least look like it. A wall spider will try its best to stick as close to the wall as possible, and it can do that. It will attempt to grab any wanderer it sees. If it is successful in doing so, it will snap the wanderer's neck, then use one of its shorter arms, stick it in the ear, mouth, nose, or any opening and suck all the liquid out of the body, then leave the carcass to rot. Yum. If it is unsuccessful in catching the wanderer, then it will turn and run like a bitch. It is not very resilient against attack, but if the wanderer runs, it will realize the wanderer is weaker than it and go for it in an attack. Just smash the wall. Like, what's so hard? Literally anybody on the planet can put a dent in a wall, let alone a hole. Why is this a class 3? Now I'm mad. Moving on. Scorpses. Scorpses are scorpion-like entities known for their ability to remove heads from the corpse and use them to speak telepathically with wanderers they encounter. Though primarily scavengers, these entities have also been known to hunt live wanderers and use their club-like tails to bludgeon them to death. That's pretty much it. They are 2.7 meters tall and weigh an average is 58 kilograms and have 5 insect-like legs. And yeah, they're a largish scorpion that can rip off heads and talk telepathically. Cool. Inflatables. Inflatables are entities that are described as living pool toys. They look like front room inflatables. However, these inflatables can have various properties depending on the inflatable's pattern or designs. Some are sentient and some possess what will be perceived as magical powers. Inflatables most commonly look like cartoon characters or pool toys. It looks like some nerd made his Sonic OC into a floaty to me, but whatever. There was one documented case where an inflatable was shaped like an entity and it possessed the entity's properties. Okay, that's kind of scary. There's various different types of inflatables here. Most are pretty harmless. See if I can find a dangerous one. There are inflatables that can look like humans. It doesn't say if they're hostile, but it says they're able to speak, they can move their mouths, they can eat and drink as normal humans do. They're aware of who they are and say that their ancestors were former humans long ago. And like I stated earlier, some inflatables can take on the appearance of entities in the back rooms. As for what entity they take appearance of, it doesn't really specify. I'm assuming none of the real big bads, though. So, if you see one of these, just pop it. Like, you have a knife, don't you? If you went into the back rooms without a knife, you might as well crawl into a corner and cry on any level, because you're fucked. Noose snakes and noose cranes. Noose snakes are actually a class 4 entity, but I wanted to put them on here, and I ran out of space on tier 4, so deal with it. I'll talk about noose snakes first. Noose snakes are a long piece of rope that is tied to be a noose. As the name suggests, noose snakes function like ordinary snakes but hunt differently, as they mainly use swarm tactics. That's scary. They slither like snakes to their prey and attempt to wrap their head around the neck of the victim. After that, they launch the end of the rope or their tail to a ceiling and attempt to... once their victim is unconscious, they will diffuse from the ceiling and slither to the nearest noose crane. If there isn't a noose crane, they will instead just plane out off the wanderer that they found. Noose snakes can be tamed by feeding them almond water or vanilla milk. Afterwards, they will calm down and no longer attack wanderers or foreign entities. They can still get aggressive if you piss them off, but otherwise they'll become completely friendly. As far as neutralizing these, there is only one way to destroy these entities, and that is by pouring liquid pain on them, though they can simply be taken care of without harming this entity. That's possible by tying its head to its tail. This tactic is very useful in low quantities and is ultimately useless when most of them are swarming your ass. The people or entities who are trapped in the noose snake form can be freed by pouring absolute pain on them. This is a recommended action if you know exactly who you are freeing, but this should be avoided in case of the hostile entity reappearing instead of a human. Attempt this at your own risk. I should probably talk about what absolute pain is. I'll do that after this. Noose cranes are a completely stationary entity and very few of its kind are left. Good. This entity is not exclusive to level 2755, the level which they originate from, but there does seem to be doesn't seem to be a lot of them left. This entity is impossible to tame and indestructible. Then how can there not be a lot of them left? Noose cranes are gods of some sort to the entities named noose snakes, and most of them surround the noose cranes. This entity largely takes the shape of a crane. Yeah, it looks like a crane. Now, when a noose snake delivers an unconscious wanderer or entity, the noose crane will attach its noose to the victim's neck and begin to lift with its strong and sturdy jib and trolley. The entire ordeal is supposed to be some sort of event or ritual, and is supposedly called by some the final lift. Once the victim is instead of them dying, their bodies transform into a noose snake. This would support the theory that the construction crew of 2755 were turned into acolytes for the noose cranes. The ultimate purpose of the noose cranes is not clear. They do not eat, they do not sleep, they do not do anything else besides turn unfortunate people into rope. Yeah. It's actually kind of cool in its own way. Alright, so real quick, absolute pain, because I said I would talk about it. Absolute pain is a highly corrosive and deadly variant of liquid pain. Absolute pain shares many properties with liquid pain, except in some specific areas. Absolute pain has a slightly clumpy, smoothie-like texture as opposed to liquid pain's watery appearance. Absolute pain is very toxic and corrosive. It comes into contact with a human, the skin will start to burn and react with the outer layer of the human skin will create a fungus, slowly spreading across your body within the span of 2 to 4 hours. The fungus cannot be destroyed or gotten rid of after about an hour has passed. So if you have any almond water, make sure you drink this as soon as possible to restore and heal your rotted ass skin. Negative effects of absolute pain on your body. The absolute pain is very lethal and explosive. When it comes into contact with alcohol, absolute pain will explode violently, destroying or damaging any object within a 10-foot radius. There is a warning. This next part is going to get kind of violent. I haven't read it, so I'm gonna, yeah. So if you don't want to hear about violence and blood and innards, I'd skip ahead. When absolute pain is consumed, you will instantly feel like your head is being shot and hit by a hammer repeatedly. The pain is so immense and sharp that you may pass out or on the spot. Unlike liquid pain, absolute pain is quick to give you pain to your entire body. After this, your head starts to hurt, your eyes will begin to pop out of your skull, then they will begin to hang, then they go boom, then you will puke, then your organs go boom, and then your burnt boom organs come out of your chest, your heart will stop, your brain will immediately turn off, your head will show visible cracks, your head go boom, your lip, it's just bad all around. Don't eat it. Just don't eat it, dude. Alright, that was tier 3. I think I'm going to call it for this video because these are just going to get more long and lengthy and complex as we go, and I don't want this to be like a 4-5 hour video. So yeah, stay tuned for part 2. There may even be a part 3 because class 7 has some really in-depth entities down there. That might be a whole video in and of itself. I don't know yet. But if you guys enjoyed, give the video a thumbs up. If you really enjoyed, you can hit the subscribe. And if you're going to subscribe, you might as well hit that notification bell too, and then you could see really cool stuff like this, and you could be real excited when you see this. Be like, oh man, when Heroes Are Zeros just uploaded a new video, my week is made, dude. And like you could tell all your boys. You're like, yo, bro, when Heroes Are Zeros, they're uploading videos. Tell your kids. Don't tell your kids. We don't upload videos appropriate for kids. But in all seriousness, guys, thank you for watching the video. Let me know down below in the comments what you think of the video. Let me know down below what you think about the music thing I mentioned earlier. Yes or no on the music, whether you want me to keep it or drop it. And have a good day.